Why can't I share this? I wonder if it's like unlisted.
Wes, are we good?
I think so. I poo my pants.
I'll be right back.
How do you start episode 100?
Kind of like this.
Like, it feels weird. We do this every week, almost every week, collectively for the last few years. We added you, and somehow along the way we've made 100 of these, and here we are.
Well, I don't know
It's
about
kind of
somehow.
surreal.
I mean, we've done it like this.
It started with a drink. Communications major talked to a Washington musician one day and said, "Hey, I think I want to start a podcast." The Washington musician said, "Why?" The communications major said, "I have a lot to talk about. Lots of things to unpack." So we started off as a social sciences podcast. We were educating the world. We were out there and teaching people about things that needed to be taught and things that we thought needed to be said. And somewhere along the ways, we started telling you to call your mom. Then we threw that book out the window and we decided that we were going to become a podcast about nothing. We wanted to be like Seinfeld, except we weren't reinventing the wheel. It was a show about nothing. We were just a couple of Midwesterners who occasionally had somebody on the show and talked about shit and, had a good time. Then Wes decided to work 4 fucking jobs and Kevin had to host the show by himself for like 3 months. We call that the Great Depression. We don't talk about that time. It's a lot like, boomers failing, themselves and the future generations. We just don't talk about it. It's like the unsung elephant in the room. Then we got our shit together and we said, you know what? We're going to talk about things that are relevant to today's discussions, but we're not going to be a news podcast because we're not going to sit here and go, an earthquake struck in Chicago today. Because nobody fucking wants that. So we're becoming a current events podcast that dissected what we feel is the truth and what we feel is important. And we inject our humor and our boisterous ass muscles along the way. I'm making this up as I go. This is completely unscripted. Folks, it's been a hell of a ride from being a COVID cast to surviving being a COVID cast to picking up a third co-host along the way and having made many, many friends along the journey. I want to be the first to welcome you to episode 100 of this, the Life Midwest podcast. I did that just for Lenny. Thanks for tuning into episode 100, everybody. I'm your host, Kevin Palmer. We got our Thai correspondent, Wes Shirley, in the booth, everybody.
Hello.
Joining us from Seattle, Washington, we've got our Army veteran, Lenny Wells. He's still muted. Rookie mistake. Oh, that's right. I have to tell. He kept fucking up my intro, so I had to tell him when he had to unmute. You could unmute now, buddy.
That's what I was waiting for.
That's what I was waiting for. That's what I was waiting for. See, we have fun here. We have fun. We have lots of fucking fun. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm having fun.
The
I've been
tagline
having
is
fun.
the tagline is join a Washington musician, a communications major, and an Army veteran, all originally from the Midwest, as we talk about life's endeavors that are both current and events. Today we're kind of throwing that out the window, and it's a bit more of a party. It's a party. We made it to 100 episodes, man. We're gonna do a cool. Well, we just blew our whole budget. I can tell you that we just blew our whole budget on graphics. Whatever Wes just did during Lenny doing that. So, there. Enjoyed the show, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. No, what I want to start with is this is kind of going to be open and scripted, but I want to talk about our favorite memories from the first 100 episodes. I want people and listeners, as this podcast grows, to be able to come back and start at episode 100 without feeling like they missed a beat. So let me get you up to speed. Call your mom, tell someone you love them.
Love you, babes.
And we do shout outs every week. What'd you say?
I love you, babes. I love you, babies.
Yeah, Lenny always says that for some reason. I don't get that, but we let him do it.
Because I want, we want to make sure that you tell somebody you love them. And I'm telling you and everybody that's listening that I love you guys.
Okay, that's fair. Okay. So we're going to start with our favorite memories from the first 99 episodes. Wes is going to do his producing magic here, and I kind of, give him free reign however he's going to, edit these in. But Wes, would you like to go first with your favorite moments of the podcast? Because I find it only fitting that you, as the original brainchild of this podcast, give us your favorite moments first.
Sure. I'll start off with one that references what you've just said. I want to mention your progression through being just like this consummate professional, absolute wonderful host who like never cracks a smile, never busts a tear, no emotion, just like the best host you could possibly be, to like being an even better host with like dark side. So you and it started
Dark
off with
Bevan.
a joke where like it was when I took a little break. You're like, I know this is your baby. I'm not gonna leave it in the back seat of a car in a hot summer day in a Myers parking lot. And that's one of my favorite things, because like you used to stay really on color, and then all of a sudden dead baby joke. So kudos to that. That's one of my favorite parts of the podcast because it's dark and I like dark humor.
I'm flattered that you feel that way. I think I definitely remember there being like me being afraid to kind of come out of my shell. Because I was like, oh, I don't want to get canceled. And I was so afraid of like getting shut down that I like didn't want to be myself. But then I was like, you know what? If they're not going to enjoy my jokes, like, I don't know. I talked to some guy. You just get into a conversation with somebody and you're like, oh, this person has no fucking personality, but you have no way out of that conversation. So you just kind of have to be like, and you provide the color analyst to a sport where like there's no action happening.
Mm.
That's kind of what it felt like listening to myself for the first, 20 some episodes until you went on that break. So
I didn't feel that way. I mean,
I'm
like
glad
the
you
first, like I will give you like that, not all 20, not the first 20, but like when you guys like were doing like the pure educational, like, first handful, you both felt that way. I love you guys, but you both felt that way.
Yeah.
But it was y'all's podcast. Now it's ours.
Lenny, I would 100%. I don't know how Wes feels. I would 100% redo my friend episode. It just feels stale.
We can redo it if you'd like. I'll keep mine the way it is. I found a new appreciation for mine going back and listening. I used to think it was so cringe. I'm like, I don't want to listen to that, and I avoided listening to it literally the whole time until we did the review for this, and I'm fine with it.
I don't know. I just not to spend like an entire episode reflecting on it, but I think about like what I was going through during that time period, and I just recently gotten diagnosed with high functioning Asperger's, which is now considered autism spectrum disorder. And it was a very strange point in my life, and I feel like I had to talk about that and explain that to so many people, and I was like, this is my chance to explain to people why I'm so fucking weird and quirky. And it just ended up being really fucking stale. So I want the do-over, but I'm not going to do the do-over just for the self-gratification, if that makes any fucking sense.
Well, hey, man, it's your podcast as much as it is anyone else here. So if you want to do a My Friend episode, fucking do it.
Yeah, maybe episode 500. Wes, what do you got next?
So you mentioned that you thought the first 20 episodes or so you were like, stale or dry or whatever word you used. But actually, while I did say you were a consummate professional, you did have a lot of humor, and your editing style showed that. I mean, on your My Friend episode, it showed, or we had outtakes, which was absolutely hilarious. I remember going back and listening to episode 2 thinking, oh God, another My Friend episode is going to be cringe. And then it starts off with like you basically putting up with my bullshit. You're like, oh my god, the whole and it was really funny, the interaction that you produced between us. That's not how that happened in reality, I don't think, but the way you produced it made it sound hilarious. So you showed a lot of your personality and a lot of your humor in the production as opposed to the hosting. You play a wonderful straight man, and that's great. This podcast needs a straight man. So I'll insert that here roughly.
Hey, before we do that, we thought we'd share with the listeners, give them a little treat. We're pretty new at this whole podcast thing, and so I thought we would share some attempts that didn't quite make it into last week's episode. Take a listen.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to restart one more time. I might as well riff. So, like, I think in the future I'd mainly want to scratch my ass. Just sit on a couch. Kind of give like the side lean, like you're about to fart, but no, it's just an itch. So let's get that scratching on.
Series that we'll probably be holding throughout this show and different topics. Things that make you think. Think of it as like shower thoughts, but you don't have to get naked if you don't want to.
And trust me, we are naked.
We have a very special guest for you tonight. I may or may not have already introduced him.
I'd like to introduce...
Welcome to the Life Midwest, the podcast where, yes, we chose the Midwest, but none of the other regions were taken.
As opposed to the podcast Southwest or Pacific Southwest, Pacific Northwest, the Northeast, New England, the South.
Yes, thank you.
Florida's its own thing. Fuck Florida.
Today's episode is going to be the first in a couple of series where we're talking about
these
kind of...
If we're going for like a social media bio, I'm very, very wealthy. Tons of cars, all foreign. Every girl in any photo I've ever taken, my wife. Doesn't matter what they look like. I wife all of them. So there's my Twitter bio. That's not quite who I am at all. I am sometimes a dinosaur. So, since this is edible, I'm gonna eat this shit.
Wes, what do you got next for us, bud?
So we went from this interesting, like, imagine like a TED Talk or something, but like for our own self-gratification almost. Like, hey, here's a My Friend series. Let's tell the world about ourselves. But like in this really calm and collected voice. And it just sounded like we were listening to NPR, at least when I listened back to the My Friend episodes and then the first few educational episodes. And then we evolved a little bit, of course. But then you went off on your own when I had to work the 30, 50 jobs or whatever the narrative was. And you had an episode called Dancing by Myself or Dancing with Myself. And to me, it sounded like you were A, a motivational speaker, or B, like a pastor of like a Protestant church. Like it was just so unique and good for what we were doing. And I just remember listening. I'm like, wow, this is really fucking good. If he wanted to be a pastor, he could make, a lot of money during tithe. Like you could be like Joel Osteen or some shit. Like so I really remember that one because of just how jarring it was. I'm like, Jesus Christ, he's good at this.
This is meant to be a self-reflective episode. Why do we not take our own advice? I was too afraid to admit that I had made the wrong decision going down this path, and I wanted it to work. And it got to a point where I had no willpower left, and the only way I knew how to make it work was to just deny that it wasn't working. But I guarantee you that if anybody else was in my situation, and over that time period, I told other people who might have been in a somewhat similar or, you know, that area of context, hey, she's not good for you. He's not good for you. Get out. You're miserable. I've seen you happy. You're not happy. Why is it so easy for us to do that? We're drowning in our own swimming pools, but those swimming pools have glass walls. And we see other people drowning, and we go, oh, and we're worried about them. I'm not saying worry about other people and not yourself, because I feel like that's how we get into this mental thing of we can't give ourselves the same advice.
And you know, right now I'm stroking your nuts, but my next one will be Lenny, so don't worry.
Oh no.
I really appreciate that, because I think I was kind of going out on a limb. There were a few things going on in my personal life where you know, Ashley was still with Mary Kay and was trying to essentially get out of what had become a multi-market, you know, a multi-level marketing trap. And it has started to kind of affect us, you know, financially and personally, and just in ways I won't get into. But it led me to have this motivational talk of like, you know what, like you can do things for yourself, and you don't need other people to tell you that you're doing the right thing in order for you to be doing the right thing. And you can kind of carve your own path and not, you know, without worrying about the ulterior motives of what other people have to say when they're providing advice. So that's really where those few episodes came from. I'm glad they weren't cringy to you. I hope they helped people. I genuinely hope they helped somebody. I do like the fact that I played Billy Idol's Dancing with Myself coming back from the break. That was pretty fucking funny.
It was really good. I was really worried that the episode was going to get like taken down ultimately, but just for copyright stuff. But I'm glad that it didn't, or at least if it did, I didn't see it.
As far as I was concerned, like I was like, this has to fucking happen.
Wes, before you start stroking my nuts, I think my son is up again. I don't know why, so I have to sort this out.
For sure.
Okay.
Okay. Wes, what do you got coming in at number 3 for us?
Number 3 is, and I know I said I was going to stroke Lenny's nuts, but I'm actually going to stroke Mac's nuts here. Wait for it. So we have a dog on the cover of our podcast. Like when you look us up on socials or you look us up on YouTube, our picture has a golden retriever and it's glowing yellow. And people ask me, what's up with the dog? Whose dog is that? And I'll insert the clip here.
So as you all know, I have a dog named Mac. It's a golden retriever. He's a very fluffy boy. He's a very good boy.
And but at one point we're talking about Mac, and Kevin's like, he's a golden retriever. His name is Mac, and he's very fluffy, and he's a very good boy. And that's why we have Mac on our cover, because Kevin's dog is legendary. But yeah.
Ashley and I were just talking about this last night as I was finishing up the list, or 2 nights ago as I was finishing up the list of top moments. And the beginning of what you just said is actually the beginning of a story about how we discovered that he was shitting in my neighbor's yard and we had no fucking idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of Ashley's favorite moments from the podcast. So I want to give her a shout out, a special shout out. She gets to put in her favorite moment of the podcast. I would say that that's arguably one of her favorite moments of the show. I believe that was episode 12.
That was a very good story.
Yeah. Mike and Amy, I'm still sorry. And if you want more apology cookies, let us know. All right. Wes, coming in at number 2. What do you got?
So my second favorite time on the podcast is when it was episode 21. It was the first time we had Lenny on the episode. It was his friend episode. And we're coming back from the break, and we didn't have anything. We just didn't have anything. So he does the comeback. He's our guest, and he hosts the comeback, and he's like, and these two doofuses or these two idiots or something like that. it was really good. Listening back to that, I forgot about it, and then just listening back to it, I'm like, that's excellent. That's so good. It makes sense now why he eventually made his way onto the podcast.
I was just about to say the same thing, because if you think about it, like you kind of, like, everyone else is like up to this point, Mercedes and Peapod and I'm missing somebody. Mercedes, Peapod. Who else did we have on before Lenny? Do you remember?
I don't. I think Lenny was the third one.
Okay. All right. Lenny might have been the third one. If I'm forgetting somebody, I'm so sorry. But I mean, Mercedes and Peapod were just like, oh, thank you for having me on. It's really cool to be on the show. Thank you so much. Like, remember me if this goes somewhere, that kind of shit. And Lenny comes on and he's just like,
welcome back from the break to the Life Midwest podcast, where you have me, Lenny, aka Derpadoo, talking to these two idiots, Kevin and Wes. I'm sorry, they're not idiots. They're really nice people, but they couldn't think of an intro to come back on the break from, so you've got me instead. Anyways, let's get right back into it.
Thanks for that, Lenny.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, if you're looking for ways to support us, And you're just kind of like, who is this arrogant prick who just came onto someone else's show as a guest? But then it's like, no, like, he's not an arrogant prick. He just gelled so well with us, and it was just such a good organic episode. That it just, it's like, why did it take so long to get him added to the show? Especially with all of the alluding to throughout these episodes of like, why don't you make me a permanent host, guys? Why don't you make me a permanent host, guys?
Okay, so that was like, to be fair, right, when I had like my friend. So let me back up a minute. I didn't listen to my friend in preparation for this, because I was like, God damn it, Vader! Holy shit! Hold on.
Did his cat just poop on his floor?
No, Vader's the dog.
Oh, did his dog just poop on the floor?
I don't know. Lenny, is there poop?
Oh my God, there's poop. No. My son left the gate open, so Vader got into an area of the house he's not supposed to be in. I swear to God.
He did.
Okay,
he's just
so
an old man.
He is an old man. Where was I? Oh yeah, so I didn't listen to my own my friend in preparation for this, because for the same reason like Wes was putting it off, because of just the cringe. And I've thought about it over time. Like, I feel like I was really like negative on my friend, and I just didn't want to relive, go back to that and listen to me like talk about how much shit sucked. So, but I will say that as like a joke to only me was like social engineering of like that constant, and just make me a full-time host. Not expecting it to end up like this, but I'm really glad to be here. So I'm glad that Wes, you guys have enjoyed my presence so far.
I also am glad that we suckered you into becoming a host for a show for free.
Right.
Surprise! There's no fucking pay.
Eventually when this blows up, it just means, that because I've been here more than I haven't, I think, at this point.
Yes.
That my royalties will just be only a little bit smaller.
Actually, your first episode, I believe, Wes, you're gonna have to edit this. I remember you were a special guest for 50 because you had given us feedback about how much you enjoyed the show and things that pieces that you did like, pieces that you didn't like so much. And let's see. This week, I
He
think it
was
was
on
52.
either once or
No.
twice when I was on break. So he
Yeah,
was
so I was
on
on
Punk.
twice before that.
He was on
Yeah.
the episode about Punk. One of your episodes about Dancing with Yourself, like the third one, I think, or maybe it was in between.
We're back.
We're
episode 56 is when he officially joined. Well, it's funny because if you look at 50, it's join Kevin West and special guest Lenny. 51, join us this week as we talk about a small win for. Okay, so West was not, or Lenny was not on 51, or 52. But then if you go to 53, special guest co-host Lenny. 54, special guest co-host Lenny. And then we just 55, special guest co-host Lenny Wells. Then we had a mid-season break where we hinted at it, and then we finally in May. Holy shit!
It's been a year.
It's been a year. Lenny, happy cake day, buddy.
Blow your budget twice over now.
So
Suckers.
this is not only episode 100. It's the 1-year anniversary of Lenny joining us on the show. Wow.
It's almost like it was planned, except it wasn't.
It really wasn't. It really wasn't. I want to take credit for it as the writer, but I don't. I can't. It just happened. Wes, before we go to your number one moment, do you have any quick honorable mentions for us? You just want to rapid fire our way?
Yeah, for
Can
sure.
laugh at.
So on the same episode, the My Friend Lenny episode, you had mentioned about me in the past about it's jarring to hear Wes so calm and collected, and if I had two things to describe Wes, it'd be loud, and I'm like, the fuck, man, loud and loud, you got nothing else. So I got a pretty hearty chuckle out of that re-listening to it. Honorable mention number 2 is a recent one, actually. Anyone who's just started watching us has probably seen this. It's where I caught Kevin off guard singing Journey, and put some karaoke to it. It's so good. Everyone I show that to laughs their ass off. I wanna be there.
I had no idea that he was recording, and it's my favorite song by Journey, and I don't know. My dad was a classic rock radio DJ for a long time, and that was just a song that I always remembered. And I was like, man, it just sounds cool, that opening guitar riff. And it's when the lights go down in the city, going on a journey today, bitch. It just felt good. Just felt good to say,
That is one of the magic things. Sorry, Wes, I don't mean to cut you off, but that is one of the magic things about you being in control of the recording, is that we don't know when it's happening. Especially now in the current format, when you don't see that big recording animation coming across on what was the other program we used to use? I forget.
Zencaster.
Yeah, because we get the countdown, and then it'd be recording.
Yeah, and now you have the chaotic good nature of Wes, and you just have to be on your fucking A game 24/7 because you never know what he's going to use.
I'm always on my D game.
Okay. What else you got for any other honorable mentions, Wes?
One final honorable mention. People ask why I'm not the host of the podcast, which I find hilarious. They're like, well, you thought of it, he always says. Why aren't you the host? To which I reply, and I show them episode 2, which is Kevin's My Friend episode. And he says something about it's deep. It's really deep. And I'm like, oh, interesting. Like I had nothing to say. It's just I did him the most disservice possible during that interview. I'm just not good at hosting. I'm good at answering questions, and I'm good at talking shit. I'm not good at being the straight man. So that's another it's the cringiest part of anything I've done on this podcast, I feel, aside from a certain episode that will not be named. And then yeah, so honorable mention to why I'm not the host, for obvious reasons. And
yeah, so much for being a communications major, right?
I like the theory.
if it sounds good on paper. It sounds here. Here's a piece of paper. It sounds good on it. There you go. What's funny is the moment that I think of when you say that is I played a game with myself last couple of weeks ago when Dan's episode premiered, and I took a shot every time I said, "Gotcha, gotcha." So we all have our bad moments. It's okay. I couldn't stop saying "gotcha" every time he answered a question, and I don't know. I just felt like I was saying and stuttering at the end of everything, and I don't know. I just you shoot yourself in the foot for as many things as you can find. We're all our own worst critic. What I'm trying to say. Wes, I'm gonna let you give us the number one, but I can't. I got no drum roll. You're gonna have to throw that in there yourself. What do you got for us at number one?
Fuck, what is it? I got so distracted by whatever we were talking about. Oh. So my favorite part of the podcast is also recent, and it's because of what I've done and how I feel like I've accomplished something. In the episode about Linkin Park, those songs that cut in and the music video thing that I made for the transition was made by myself. I know Linkin Park made the original song and I stole their work, but I edited all that and used the MIDI keyboard and basically made everything sound just like a Linkin Park song. So I'm super proud of how that turned out. When Kevin's like, I'm going to listen to some Linkin Park in the background, I'm like, I'm going to spend 30 hours this week on something stupid I shouldn't be doing. And it turned out so good. I don't give myself pats on the back often, but every time I see that or hear that, I'm like, oh, that's so good. I don't know how other people feel about it, but I'm very proud of that. So that is my favorite part of the podcast.
I had no idea that you had actually created that yourself. Good for you, man. Good job. That's really, really cool.
If you watch the video, if you watch the transition in the background, you can see it's playing live in Fruity Loops. All I did was record the screen through Descript while Fruity Loops was playing.
Yeah, I had no idea that like you spent that much time and like made that yourself either. So you really do deserve a pat on the back for that. Like, no lie.
I will. Song selection didn't surprise me because I know that's your favorite Linkin Park track. It's the Jay-Z remix of it at least. So yeah.
I put, so there was a MIDI file. I didn't create the MIDI from scratch. I downloaded the MIDI file and then basically copied it with all new sounds and all new stuff. So I don't want to completely lie and say I all from scratch, but the MIDI file with like bare skeleton was then built upon, and I even added Jay-Z's voice and Chester's voice. The hell are you waiting for? And for one last time, make some noise, using like horns. So I'm proud of that. The production of that episode, I thought I did a really good job, and I give myself a pat on the back for that one. That's my favorite part because of the work I put in.
I love the cut-ins of all the different songs, and I love when Lenny's like, I'd sort of given up on music, and then you're like, I've given up. Like, it was just so good. It was so, like, everything was just so good. Honestly, when we went to the episode after Linkin Park, there were kind of some funny moments where I kind of expected like cut-ins from like different songs to like come in and happen. And then it didn't happen, and I was like, oh. But then I was like, oh wait, that was like a one episode thing. My bad. So yeah, no,
I want to
cool.
add more stuff. It's just I got to do the trade-off. If I spend 30 hours one week, I'm gonna be spending 30 hours every week. If we have Patreons, if we have viewers, someday we will have the utmost quality of video production. Please subscribe, comment.
we had 111 downloads 2 weeks ago. And I don't know where the fuck that came from. And we actually also got a new review. I don't know if you guys saw this.
I didn't.
Oh, I did not. Did this come on?
Yes.
Through the Buzzsprout feed? BuzzFeed.
BuzzFeed. Jesus Christ. Number 4 will shock you. No, this was from Paul 2677. Says keep coming back. Thoughtful conversation about topics of the day. Nothing strident, but heartfelt thoughts and ideas that allow room for argument and concession. The fact that they make it fun is a bonus.
Where's this review at?
The only place that matters.
YouTube? Apple. Go figure.
iTunes. Paul 2677, I really appreciate you, bud. Hey, reach out to us on social media. Send us a DM, give us a message so just we can know who you are. And I almost said keep tabs on you. I'm not trying to keep tabs on you. That'd be fucking weird. But we can link up, and just talk.
I'm trying to keep tabs on you.
Okay, well, social media manager Lenny is going to be going off the hinges here. Lenny, I'm going to distract you. Can you give us number 5 on your list instead of going after our new podcast listener?
So, I actually, as I was doing a review, there was one episode. I don't know why it stood out to me so much, but it really did. And that's episode 11, One Punch Man, where you guys were starting the transition between the informational thing to podcast about nothing. And there's actually 3 moments that like really stood out to me. So the very first moment, I'm just going to go through these chronologically, is actually the cold open, where Kevin, you so eloquently speak about how you guys actually never talk about the things that you preview in the previous episodes. And I just found that really funny. Because I don't know when it stopped happening, but episode previews sort of stopped happening like every once in a while. Like we'll bring it back. If it's something like big coming up, like for example, last week, we sort of, previewed that something special was going to happen this week. But I just really enjoyed that. That frank honesty, and that's in that transition period where you guys were kind of like finding your new way. Another section of that episode I liked was anyways, here's where you put that.
Welcome, everyone, back to the Life Midwest podcast, the only podcast where we never end up talking about the things that we preview in the previous episode.
My number 4 pick is going to be the Midwestisms, where you guys just are talking about. I can't remember. I should have made better notes. I'm sorry, but you guys were going through and talking about roughly like the weather at this point. And
because every fucking time I asked how Wes was doing, he was like, "Oh, it's warm this week."
yeah, that's right. And
I asked how you are doing.
Wes, how's life in the Midwest going?
Oh, it's going. Today it was actually warm.
You had made the comment that when you guys were recording, it was the hottest day of the week, and then it would get really cold. And you guys made your 3 Midwestisms followed by Wes's. Is that a tornado? Which I really enjoy because like living out on the West Coast, that's not some like the wait 5 minutes and the weather will change certainly exists. And I think that pretty much goes for anywhere that has like actual seasons. But not that I'd forgotten, but I had taken for granted like that like extreme weather phenomena happens in the Midwest, like tornadoes. It's not something we have to deal with out here. The only thing we have to worry about is this earthquake going to happen that we can't plan for and will kill us all, or is this volcano going to happen that we can only sort of plan for and maybe kill us all going to happen. So anyways, tornadoes, love them. And then the final bit from that episode that I enjoyed was Kevin, your final shout out to Emily Green, where you and Wes had been having a good time, having a little bit of banter, but you finally broke him in the episode and got him to laugh really hard. And you're like, my last shout out once again this week, Emily Green, and he let go, and it was good.
I would also like to echo the shout out to One Punch Man.
I'm just happy he came to visit the United States.
Yeah, I mean, that's really amazing. Really is.
Like,
And finally, last but not least, I'll do it 2 weeks in a row. Emily Green. I got him, folks. It took the whole show, but I got him.
shout out to Emily Green.
I really like, those sorts of moments for the podcast, which is why I've really enjoyed kind of the direction that we've taken it recently, even if it's not like the best of like what we're doing. I think it's a lot of fun doing it this way. And I think that if we're having fun, that anyone that's listening is going to have fun too. So just a little bit of my philosophy about the podcast thrown in there. The next, so that was 543. My number 2 is, if I make sure I have the right, is the cold open for the episode about water. I just again, it's more of that like funniness to it. Insert here so everybody else can laugh along with me.
I have done.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening wherever you're tuning in from across the country. And what? What?
So you took that long ass pause, and then, like, right as you started talking, Wes goes like, "I have time."
More like he's got timing.
Derailment successful.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I was right on the money, dude.
Welcome back, everybody, to the. All right, so I was just testing you.
Game of chicken.
It's almost like this would be the perfect spot for a kazoo to make an appearance.
Oh, that
give me a
reminds me.
second.
I have something for you guys today.
Oh.
Yes.
Ashley and I read Five Below. We were like, you know what the podcast needs? A kazoo and a fucking harmonica. So there we go.
All right. Now I gotta get some sort of mouth instrument.
Skin flu.
But as like an honorable mention before I get into my number 1, is like that whole episode, because it was just Wes like dunking on me.
Sorry.
And no, it's okay. It was a good episode. It was fun, and I think everyone has some of those I don't know what you want to call them, but some of those things that you just believe regardless of what the science is or whatever. I mean, that's pretty much, never mind. I won't get into I won't get
Like
into
people
that.
who watch Fox News.
Okay, yeah, I didn't want to say that. I thought we were trying to have fun, so I didn't want to like throw zingers in there like that, but fuck it, let's go.
I'm still having fun.
And my number 1 favorite part about the podcast, keeping in line with the theme, while this was a little bit more structured, episode 78 of the serial draft. And that is where at 11 minutes 15 seconds, I know Wes is going to put that up here, but what happens is that I get one stolen out from underneath me in Frosted Mini Wheats. All right, Wes, give us the last pick for round 1.
All right. I know he's the underdog pick, but I think I'm gonna have to go with Frosted Mini Wheats.
Oh, what? Oh, Wes, you bastard. That was gonna be like my sleeper pick. I can't believe you've done this to me.
It's my
one.
round 1 draft. It is the best cereal to ever be made. I'm going for it.
Oh, that's such a good pick. And like, I know that makes me sound like an old man. It makes me sound like Grandpa Kevin that hasn't gone to bed yet, but like,
Hey, eat a dick.
no, I'm gonna eat Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I can't believe you did this to me. That was my safe pick. I didn't think that was going anywhere, let alone round 1. I can't believe you've done this. this.
See,
Well,
yeah,
let's
that's
see how
why I assumed that Captain Crunch was going to be a safe pick, but I didn't want to take any chances.
Damn.
Let's see how the season goes, and maybe I can trade them.
All right, Kevin, round 2. What's
All right.
your next pick?
Before I pick my second round, I'm just curious: am I the only one who pictures the episodes of Ted Lasso where he pours out his frosted wheat and it's one singular wheat?
Yeah, I
when
love
he pours
that.
it out.
And just the ruckus it kind of caused was a lot of fun, and it came out of left field for me. And I think we all were kind of a little bit surprised by just the pick overall, but what that meant for everybody else's list. And I think it really kind of embodies like what we've been trying to do, sort of recently, is having fun with the podcast again. I just can't really stress that enough, that I like jamming out with you guys for these episodes. And that's one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, you got virtually sack tapped by Wes on that pick. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Speaking of sack tapping, he's not literally bent over, but he might be when we come back from the break. Stick around. Welcome back, everybody, to the other side of the break of the Life Midwest podcast, the only podcast where
Fucker.
we literally and metaphorically fuck each other over. I don't know. Hey, if you're looking for ways to support us, we do have a PayPal that's live at paypal.me/TheLifeMidwest. You can also reach out to us on all major social platforms at The Life Midwest. Interact with our social media manager, Lenny. We have a website at thelifemidwest.com. You can also email us at support@thelifemidwest.com. I was going to say that this is where I was going to say that we had the new review, but it kind of came up organically. So, appreciate again to Paul2677. Appreciate you, bud. Hit us up. Let us know where you're hailing from, what you're doing, and if you're telling your friends about us like we ask you to. If you're calling your mom, if you're telling someone you love them, all that good shit. Folks, it is time for my top 5, and I got some honorable mentions before we get to number 1. But I'm going to start with number 5. Number 5 is episode 21 of the show, My Friend Lenny, Aliens Exist Story, starting at 2 minutes and 30 seconds, where I rightfully and correctly accused Lenny of handing out wallets of his own photo saying aliens exist and selling it as proof for 25 cents a pop so he can get himself Nutty Buddy bars.
I mean, it happened. It happened.
I have a question about that. How many of those pictures did you find on the ground with penises drawn in your mouth?
None, because I wasn't looking for them. I just assumed that if somebody actually took it, that they just either threw it away, or I don't know. I just assumed that it got thrown away.
Because at one point I ended up with a couple of those and drew wieners on them. I don't know what happened to them after that, but at some point I remember having like pocket-sized pictures of you and I drew wieners on them.
I wish you would have said that in the fucking episode. Oh shit. That's
Wes
funny,
was stating
dude.
this story. Wes was stating this story in case it was ever revisited, and lo and behold, today is the day.
Oh man. Oh, it's good. It's so good.
Coming in at number 4, acting like the big time podcaster I am, is that time I roasted Logan Paul and his podcast from episode 91 at 5 minutes and 54 seconds, talking about, well, here's the clip. I'm talking about like this specific like like, what's his name? Logan.
Logan Paul.
Yeah. Where it's like they have like Riley Reid on, this like, or like some other big porn name, and they're like, oh, what's the biggest dick you've deep throated? And that's content apparently. Like it really irritates the fuck out of me. And so I wanted to take an episode for this week and just literally, I understand that it gets views, it gets ratings. There's people who like it. There's creeps who like listening to those kinds of like stories or whatever of like sex workers. Like, it's different. I'm not shaming sex workers, right? I'm not sitting here saying like, oh, people shouldn't do that. I just felt like a badass for calling them out like that, I guess. I don't know.
Hey, Kevin.
Yeah.
What's the biggest dick you've sucked? Sorry.
I appreciate that you've mistaken me for someone as attractive as Riley Reid, but you have the wrong number.
That doesn't answer our question.
No, it doesn't.
Coming in at number 3, because I'm not going to answer that question, is episode 63. That time we gave women a voice. Insert the clip here from 50 minutes and 52 seconds.
It's funny to me because before, I guess, Ronald Reagan, most conservatives didn't really care about Roe v. Wade. And even before Roe v. Wade, it was a conservative SCOTUS that, approved it. Like, they voted yes, like that it was okay. But then in the 80s, of course, there was the rise of like the evangelicals getting involved in politics. And that's kind of what kicked this all off. And it's really interesting because it really had nothing to do with like pregnancy and like the sanctity of life or whatever, but they just found it as a good way to get their voices out, because what they really wanted to do was prevent affirmative action from happening. But they couldn't run on like a blatantly racist platform, and so they picked this instead.
This is where Brittany was talking about, she eloquently mentioned the how conservatives didn't really have anything to run with before the Reagan era. And they just kind of picked up pro-life as something to run with because they couldn't run with affirmative action. So bit of a more serious pick, but I'm damn proud of it. It was a very extremist episode with very extremist views. But one that I don't feel that they're extremist. So I know that some who disagree with them might feel that it's extremist, but it was a very extreme episode because I don't think we'd ever been that polarizing before on the show. And I think that was a very pivotal point for us. We took a stand for something that I think was right, and I'm damn proud of it.
I don't mean to like interrupt, so we can cut this out. Wes, is that what? I have a feeling that that's the episode you were referring to that you didn't want to talk about.
Yeah, that's the episode to me that shall not be named. It's not because it's a bad episode. I did re-listen to it kind of begrudgingly, but the reason I have such a bad memory of that episode is I was on a manic trip. I don't feel terrible mentioning this here, but I have what's called cyclothymia, among other comorbidities, but like it's basically minor bipolar. So like I don't get illusions of grandeur, but I do have highs. And that was a manic episode in which I spent like a whole week preparing for this episode, writing scripts and just like raging at this situation to have a terrible crash afterwards. And it was one of my worst crashes. So the episode itself, it's skewed. It might be a good episode. I think we did the right thing. I think we told our opinion the way that we wanted to tell it. And I think that we gave women a voice. I loved Mercedes' part. I loved when Ashley, Brittany, and Bridget were talking. And the execution of it was okay. The preparation and then the fall afterward was just a bit jarring.
Okay, sorry, I didn't. I just morbid curiosity more than anything.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, you deserve to know. You're part of the podcast, and my opinions on that are of the podcast. So,
I think you're offering good introspective. This way, the listener doesn't have to go back and listen to the first 99 episodes. That's the goal here, right? And so, I think you just very, very elegantly summed up that episode, and just kind of like, we spoke on it. We took the right action. The execution wasn't 100%, but the intention was there.
Yeah. It was a
Sorry. No. Go ahead, Lenny.
I was gonna say it was just I wasn't gonna add anything more of substance. It was yeah, I have nothing more of substance to add. There's nothing that I can add that you two haven't already said very well. So
Thank you.
Sorry.
Coming in at number 2, a lot more lighthearted. Wes's car dying doing donuts, episode 54 of the used car woes. Let me tell you what, when I was doing overnights, I picked up a second job last summer and to help pay for wedding things. And I remember talking about the podcast to the people I was working with. And this episode had just recently come out, and I was like, "Oh, listen to this one; it's a good one." I feel like it's a good, organic, around the water can kind of episode where you can listen to us, get to know us. Our personalities really showed through very well. It was really hard to pick a specific moment from this episode. From the part where Lenny was talking about Moss being on the fucking seatbelt of one of the cars he test drove to how it was, when it was in idle, it was inching forward at a red light, and he turned to the salesman and said, "Listen, dude, I'm not going to buy this fucking car." I ultimately had to rest my laurels on the 22-minute mark where Wes said,
A little bit of luck, a little bit of me just not being great with cars. Had a Saturn Ion. It was before that, actually, that died while I was doing donuts in a parking lot. I've had many of cars since then that I've done donuts in, and they've never died. But
the most soundest of logic.
But that one dropped its transmission or something. It also had to be towed away. The Dodge Neon its engine seized out in front of the high school because I went over some train tracks a little too quick and busted out the oil can, or the oil tank, which then started going everywhere. There was a nice trail of evidence as to what happened as well.
That Neon had so many fucking warning signs on it too. Like the speedometer fucking stopped working and you were just kind of like going with the flow of traffic sometimes. That Neon was a fucking legend, man. I don't know how many shopping carts you ran it. I mean,
hey, that never happened.
You ran over shopping carts, Wes?
Allegedly.
Honestly, we need more Wes stories that are as unhinged as that from his early days as a young man.
I'm telling you, dude. I'm telling you, Wes's stories are like the fucking Disney Vault, right? Like if you can get him going, and he's like, all right, fine, I'll tell one. You can probably get like a 2-for or a 3-for special. I was like, 2-for-1 special, but no, you can genuinely get him going if you can just get the first one out. It's kind of like that hard stuck poop, you get the first log out, and everything behind it's a lot softer, so it comes out a lot easier.
It's the cork. It's
you
like
just get them rolling. Yeah, a cork poop. Okay. Before we go to number 1, I keep picking my mic. Before we go to number 1, I do have some honorable mentions. Episode 14, 10,000 fists in the air over fucking coffee. I don't know why I got so angry about this guy who sued Market Basket in Massachusetts. Well, in New England for it was a grocery store that inappropriately measured the amount of cups of coffee that you get per can of coffee, grounded coffee beans. So, but anyways, I referenced that, that dessert song, the so like, I don't know. It's just like, he was like, tens of thousands of people have been affected. And in my head, I'm just like, anyways, so that was 25 minutes and 20 seconds. Another honorable mention, of course, we've touched on it already, is our first email from Emily Green, episode 10 at 1945. I turned on the 1940s voice. I was really proud of that one.
I'm going to go ahead and read it if that's okay, Wes.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry. I'm just a little choked up. It's so good.
Yeah, for sure. So it says, "Good day, happy and prosperous New Year 2021. Respecting your time, I will keep this extremely brief. We are business-to-business contactless providers with global coverage. Our business contact records enable you to reach out to potential clients via..." You know what? I should read this in my 1940s announcer voice. Our rates are competitive and great on the ROI factor. It is safe to say that the data you require is ready to deliver from huge database. We just need a day or two to re-verify everything immediately prior to delivery. Your purchase contact list will be delivered to your mailbox and an Excel spreadsheet. And once purchased, you own it. Top-level executives, CEOs, CFOs, CTOs, COOs, CIOs, cuckoos, presidents, owners, operators, heads of facilities, lots of other important words and titles. Hoping you have use of our service. Let me know your intended target audience as per the criteria below, and I shall have one of our executives get back to you with relevant counts, costing, and more details. Looking forward to working with your company and making all your upcoming events successful. Replying to this email with a subject line changed to "exclude me" will ensure that you do not hear from us again. My apologies in advance should you need to do this. Kind regards, Emily Green, Marketing Executive.
No. Read that name one more time.
Well, unfortunately, Emily had a typo.
Wait.
Because it says emaily Green.
I don't think that's a typo.
I think it is, because if you look up here, it says Emily Green. And then it says Emily G at precoreinfosystems.com.
I thought it was supposed to be emaily Green.
Man, and
she sent us an email.
Another one is episode 44, where we opened up the show talking about the time where Wes used to work at Wendy's, and the guy training him literally stopped and goes, "What are you doing?" Which was just fucking hilarious to me. That was at episode 44, 3 minutes, 25 seconds. I'm Kevin Palmer. That's Wes Shirley over there. What are you doing?
What? I just said hi. I'm so confused.
What are you doing? You know, that reminds me. Okay, hold on. Can I just say, you know what that reminds me of? Remember when so Wes used to work a lot of fast food jobs back in high school, and he used to work at Wendy's. And I specifically remember, I'm gonna start crying. I specifically remember this story about when he was going through training, and he kept screwing something up. The guy training him was just like, "What are you doing?"
I think I kept putting like too many pieces of bacon on the tray or something, and then like letting it burn. Not on purpose, but like, oh, yep, there was meat in the oven. Sorry.
I got two more. I got episode 95, the time where Wes went the fuck off at the 13-minute mark. He's just talking about how the U.S. government's a pile of shit. That was great. And episode 78, the cereal draft. This is where I had my ultimate fuck up in the intros. I had fucked it up several weeks in a row at this point, and I was just so mad at myself, and I just gave up, and I was just like, you know what? Fuck you guys. We talk about current events. There you have it. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you're tuning in from across the country and around the world. This is the Life Midwest podcast. Join a washed-up musician, an Army veteran, and a communications major, all originally from the Midwest, as we discover life's endeavor. Oh, fuck, 2 weeks in a row, I fucked it up. We talk about current events, all right?
Completely unfazed by the kazoo fucks up his intro.
And you guys laughed pretty hard at that, and I felt like I was funny for the first time in a while, so...
It's almost like a tradition at this point to fuck up your intros, or for us to fuck up your intros.
Yeah, because at the beginning of the water episode, the cold open, that's when I started, "Good morning, good afternoon." Wes was like, "I've been ready. I have great timing.
Time.
I have time. I have timing, and I have time. I have both." All right, folks. Coming in at number 1, episode 62, My Friend Michael. It was towards the end of the episode where we were talking about learning less with Ty, and we had Yui hop on the mic for a moment, and Wes said that he was going to say a word in English, and Yui was going to translate it into Thai. Take a listen at the 50-minute mark.
Yui just keeps correcting me because I'm wrong. It's okay. Come on. Thai word of the day, Yui. Let's do it. Learning less with you, or learning Yui with Thai. All right, Yui, I'm going to say the word in English and you're going to say it in Thai, okay? Coffee.
กาแฟ
Dinosaur.
ไดโนเสาร์
Hoop.
Oh no.
Did she say, "Oh no"?
She said, "Oh no," walked away and closed the door.
I really thought you'd be able to trick her with that one.
I thought she would have just willingly said it, honestly.
I thought she'd get like the first syllable out and be like, "Oh no, wait, fuck you," or something. But yeah. Folks, before we close out the show and go to the shout outs, I really would love to hear from y'all. What's your favorite moment from the first 100 or first 99 episodes of the show? Leave us a tweet, comment on Instagram, Facebook, wherever. I really want to hear from you guys this week. I want to know, obviously you listen to the show. Tell us your favorite moments. Don't fucking text me. Don't DM me on Discord. Like, I love that. You guys know who you are. I love those messages, but I genuinely want to see this on social media. I want to know what your favorite moments of the podcast, even if it's more than one. Leave us your favorite moment on the podcast. Leave us a review. Tell your friends about us. We are going to go places. We're going to try to take the show somewhere. We obviously outlived COVID, and we're going to continue to outlive all the shitty things that happen to the human race, hopefully. So,
unless it kills
one of us. Guys, before I go to the shout outs, any final thoughts from you guys?
Yes, I have one. For all those people that are DMing Kevin on Discord or texting him, if you do that, he's going to put it on social media and tag your handle, whatever it is, whether it's on your Facebook, your Twitter, your Instagram. We're going to tag you in it, and we're going to like screenshot it. It's going to be part of the social media blast this week for the episodes. I might even we may even do like a TikTok montage of them. So just, be aware. That's what's going to happen.
Great. Wes?
Thank you to everyone who has watched any of our videos, or listened to any of our episodes, or messaged us, gave us comments, interacted with us in any way. We really appreciate it. I appreciate it. We do really want to take this podcast somewhere. We've been working on it for 100 episodes, and we're going to work on it for another 900 episodes minimum. I think our next compilation one's going to be episode 1000 or 500 or something like that. So stay tuned for all the shenanigans we have planned. And your participation, your listening, your interaction is invaluable to us, and thank you so much.
100 years, Wes. 100 years, Kevin. Life Midwest, 100 years.
God, can you imagine if this goes that long? We're just sitting there like, I need to go pants.
If I live to be that long, I'm going to kill myself.
Be like 130. That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
I have saggy titties on top of my saggy titties. My armpits droop. My ball sack's been dragging on the ground.
Drooping armpits. It's so gross.
My jowls are where my armpits should be.
My armpits are where my balls should be.
I got nothing. Folks, I really want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart. This is not something I ever thought I would do. And there's been some struggles and some personal realizations, and there's been a lot of personal growth from me doing this and me doing this with the guys. And obviously the person that you have to thank the most besides your mom, because we have to thank and call our moms, but I think is our listeners, our significant others, and our listeners who put up with the me staying up till 2 a.m. my time recording. Wes having manic 30-hour projects inside of projects. Shout out to your MIDI song there. And Lenny just overall getting bent over like when we came back from the break. So just shit happens. So on that note, guys,
you're gonna post that to your own TikTok. It's gonna be great.
It's been real. It's been fun. It's been real bent fun. Wes, who do you want to shout out this week, buddy?
Shout outs all around. I have I do have anti shout outs actually. Anti shout out to people who don't listen to our podcast. Not because I'm mad at you, but because I'm ashamed for you. I'm just disappointed in you, son. I think you could do better. There's a podcast out there with your name on it, and you should listen to it.
It's called The Life Midwest.
It's called The Life Midwest. Call your moms, call your dads, call your siblings, call your family, tell someone you love them. I'm just stealing everyone's. Love you, babies. Yeah, shout out to both of you. Thank you so much. Shout out to you specifically, Kevin, for starting this with me. Shout out to you, Lenny, for coming on and adding a whole new dynamic to what we do. And just shout outs, everyone. I'm grateful that we're here. I think it's really cool that I was part of a project that made it to 100 episodes. It's not the mark I want to hit, but it's the first one.
The first of many. Lenny, what do you got for us?
I'm going to switch it up this week by first giving a shout out to our listeners. Thanks so much for all of you just listening. And even more thank you if you interact with us on social media or give us ratings and that good stuff. That helps us reach more people. You're the real ones. Secondly, I'm going to shout out my wife, Brittany, for putting up with me while I do this. Kevin, you mentioned that you end up staying up at like till 2-3 o'clock in the morning sometimes, and I know that there's been some hard times in my own house because of the podcast, whether it be with chitlins or whatever's going on. But shout out to Brittany for helping me and always making sure that the times that we have this is attempting to be quiet, except for apparently tonight. Again, shout out to you guys for creating this platform. I'm really happy and proud to be a part of it. And I only hope that once I can get some more time on my hands, that I can be as productive and to the overall success of this thing as you guys are. You guys put in a lot of work, and I appreciate it, and I hope you guys don't ever forget that I appreciate it and that our listeners surely appreciate it. Wes, your take on the editing is phenomenal. Kevin, that's not to say anything about how you've done it in the past. It gave Wes a template. It was its own, as its own thing. It was also really good and amazing. You guys have been fantastic. So thank you guys so much. And here's to the next 100 years, 10 seasons, third Life Midwest podcast. So, Kevin, give us your shout outs.
Want to shout out my amazing future wife, Ashley, for being so supportive in something that brings us in absolutely no money when there is no time that we have ever needed it more. I want to thank the guys for just being incredible co-hosts. Wes for entrusting me with a brainchild idea. I know we've always talked in high school and growing up. We were like, I want to do a project with each other, and just I didn't think this was going to be the one that stuck, but it has. And it's nothing to say that it's nothing against the idea or the podcast itself. I just
finally got one.
But I really am just completely fulfilled and happy with doing this in ways that I didn't think that I would be. And I can't thank you enough, Wes, for involving me and bringing me on and trusting me to host your brainchild. And I'm so humbled and thankful and grateful to be the lead man, or whatever you want to call it. I don't think I'm that funny. I think I'm funny because I'm like Jerry Seinfeld, okay? I'm not funny. The people around me are, and it makes me appear to have main character energy, but I'm not the main character. You guys are. I want to also thank the listeners and just the people that I've grown to know, from listening to the show, those who have, went back and started from episode 1. I mean, You guys are the real ones. You know who you are. I can't thank you guys enough. I want to thank all the countries that tune in. When I say across the country and around the world, I really do mean it. It's not like we have 2 listeners. We have a lot of people who listen to this show. Is it thousands? No. Are we going to get there? Hopefully. But you got to tell your friends about us. So I want to shout out my mom, because not only is that something that we do on the show, but I don't think I've talked enough about in my friend episode how much I truly learned from her, both as like being a person and just from a work ethic standpoint, and just being a brace for your family no matter what happens, and being that constant force. Every family needs that, and my mom is that in my family. So I want to thank my mom from the bottom of my heart for listening and for supporting and just being my mom. So folks, that's gonna do it for us this week. Please leave us a review, tell your friends about us. It really does help the show. It really does help get the word out. People like Paul found us. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, everybody who listens. I'm not even going to name people because I don't want to exclude anybody, but you know who you are. If you've ever talked to me about the podcast, I'm talking about you right now. So just thank you so much. And here's to the next 100 episodes. Until then, we will be back next Saturday and every Saturday here on the Life Midwest podcast. Take care. Have a good one.
Have a good one.
Bye. Love you, babes.